Let's bring in Trevor Matich of ESPN and see what he thinks. The next 8 days, you got all these big sporting events for BYU, including the Miami Beach Bowl. But what's the biggest event to you, Trevor, in the next 8 days for
Well,
Cougars?
to me, it's the Miami Beach Bowl because it's football. But I'll tell you what, though, there's a lot of great. BYU's always been dominant over the whole breadth of the athletic department. I mean, they've always been not just competitive, but competitive at a national level in a ton of sports. Congratulations to the ladies playing volleyball right now. I mean, this is an exciting time for BYU sports.
Absolutely. And 1 week from today, the Miami Beach Bowl will take place in Marlins Park, BYU and Memphis. I want to ask you about Memphis. I don't think BYU fans really know a lot about them. I know, hey, Penny Hardaway went to Memphis, but just generally speaking, this is a team that's kind of on the rise.
Memphis has been a doormat in college football forever. And this year, I mean, they're 9-3. You look at the teams they've lost to. They lost at UCLA and really took UCLA to the mat.
Yeah.
They were competitive in losing a game at Ole Miss. And they ended up losing that game 24-3, but they played Ole Miss tough. And the other one was a close game to Houston that they lost. They swept the rest of their schedule. And this team is a balanced team in every way. I mean, you can look at most teams and you can see flaws in their game. You know, they might be really good as a running team, but their passing game's not so good. They might be good at stopping the run, but they give up big plays in the pass. You can find flaws. This is an incredibly balanced Memphis team, and there's no obvious flaw in them. They run the ball very well. They stop the run quite well. Their pass defense is solid. Their pass offense is a very good complement to their running game. Their special teams are fine. Everything that they do well. And so for BYU, this is another game that if they're able to pull it out, it'll be a quality win and really should deserve a lot of credit to get to that ninth win. But for fans, they need to understand that this is a quality opponent and very much one capable of beating BYU.
Trevor, it appears that the strength is from the defensive side of this team. How do you think Christian Stewart and the offense will do against them?
Well, I think they'll do fine. You know, Christian Stewart has just been a revelation. I've been so impressed with how he's played over the course of this season and how he's improved. You know, the Cal game was just fantastic. And I love what he's done, especially mentally, because there are a lot of opportunities for a quarterback in his position to make mistakes and then to let those mistakes grind on him and wear on him and repeat them. But what he's done is gotten better every single week, and he'll need to get better because this Memphis defense is number one in the American Conference in fewest points allowed.
Yep.
You know, they're pretty good at getting after the passer. What BYU is really going to have to do is establish the running game because, you know, if they don't establish the run, then Memphis can do a lot of things to mess with you. You've got to back them off, and in order to do that, you've got to gain 4 yards on first down every time. So you can make sure that you've got your entire playbook available, and that's really what they'll need to do. As fans watch this game, it comes down to basic fundamentals against a fundamentally sound defense. Stay even with the change. So fans, watch and see what second to go is. If it's second and any more than 6, you'll know the Cougars are in trouble.
When you look at a bowl game, there's so many things that go on with the bowl game. You look at just the matchup, that's one thing, but then there's all the events around it. For BYU, you have the wives coming to the game, and this year coming a little later.
Yes, they're kind of mad about that.
Is there an advantage for BYU having been to a bowl game and knowing that process versus Memphis, who I think I heard has one guy that's played in a bowl game before?
You know, in some ways, yes, because there are a lot of distractions. And the key to a bowl game is the key to any other game. It's not the game itself. It's how you focus in the week of practice. And the hard part for teams that are new to it is maintaining that same kind of focused urgency from a mental standpoint every day in practice, every meeting during the week. Then they'll bring that into the game. Now, BYU is used to doing that. They're also used to doing it with busloads of wives and kids coming along. I mean, it's hilarious. We used to go to the Holiday Bowl, and the other team might have 2 married guys, and we'd have like 4 or 5 full-size vans to shuttle around players' wives and kids. You know,
BYU.
So I mean that's an added distraction that most other teams don't have. But BYU's been there. This is their 10th bowl game in a row, and so this is a team that, you know, not just in terms of players, but a coaching staff that understands how and when to keep them focused and how and when to let them enjoy the week.
Yeah, I remember when we played. I think it was against UTEP. The other team was asking, hey, "That's pretty cool, you guys get to bring your girlfriends." And I was like, "Oh no, these are our wives." They're like, "Oh, wow. Oh, I didn't know that."
And you're like one per player.
Yeah,
There's not multiple.
Yes, just
so
one.
you know.
Yeah, no, that's
It's
right.
all right.
Listen, I will suggest this though. There's a brand new bowl this year, the Bahamas Bowl.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That's going to be Central Michigan against Western Kentucky, I believe. And the thing is, every year you've got coaches that'll go to a new bowl game that'll call the coaches that were in that bowl game before to ask where the pitfalls are. So next year you'll have coaches calling these coaches to say, okay, where's the danger? Because they're leaving the United States of America. And it's like,
Right.
okay, there's a moped dealer over here that's got mopeds that are going to break down 5 miles away from, there's going to be all kinds of mistakes made, all kinds of dangers happening in the Bahamas with these kids going there. And next year, the teams will be better aware of what the problems are. But this year, keep an eye on the Bahamas Bowl the week of the bowl game, because there could be some crazy stuff.
Yeah, that honestly, that's one bowl game where I'm like, can BYU get into that, please?
Yeah,
Can
please.
BYU Sports Nation be live from the Bahamas? That's what I'm really
If I'm a
But you know
BYU
what, though,
player,
Miami Beach.
That's pretty good.
BYU, though, Miami Beach and the Holiday Bowl all those years, BYU's gone to some real nice sunny destinations in the wintertime for bowl week.
Yeah.
if I'm a BYU player and we're going to the Bahamas, I am getting married the week before, right before that. We're gonna have our honeymoon.
You just leverage that.
That's what I'm gonna do. Trevor, do you think that a win over Memphis will help BYU from a national standpoint? My problem with playing a team like Memphis is that they don't have that brand. I would much rather than play a Central Florida or a Cincinnati, teams that have been to BCS bowl games in the past 5 years.
Yeah, from a national standpoint, that's a good question. From a national standpoint, I think the Memphis game can hurt BYU, but it can't help them much. BYU could crush Memphis, and people will say, yeah, well, okay, but that's Memphis. Well, it's not Memphis, not now. It didn't crush, UCLA didn't crush them. Ole Miss didn't crush them until the score got away at the end. But because of the reputations, you're right, that this is a game that if BYU wins, then people will, I think, see the season. They'll see it as a confirmation of what they think now. And nationally, I think what the perception of this BYU season is that you've got a very good team that lost their Heisman candidate and stumbled for 4 straight losses. Then they righted the ship and brought it back. And BYU is seen as a very good team that really overcame adversity. And I think that is pretty much set in stone. So the question for the Memphis game, the bowl game, will be, will that remain as a perception of a very good team that righted the ship, or will it be that it's a pretty good team that, righted the ship but then faltered at the end? And that's really the national perspective that this game will bring with a win or a loss.
ESPN's Trevor Matich is on BYU Sports Nation. Bronco Mendenhall in the news a little bit the last couple weeks, possibly being courted by a couple of teams, namely Oregon State was one out there, although there were reports that he wasn't even interviewed for that. Do you want your coach courted in the offseason by other schools? Is that a flattering thing?
Yeah, you've got to have your coach courted. If nobody else wants your coach, well, why do you want your coach? Right? And so it's actually it's a good thing. And frankly, the media, they always want to play gotcha with coaches. Did you talk to this team? Are you thinking about? Have you interviewed? As if there's some big national secret here. It's like, of course you interview. You always keep your options open.
Sure.
You do that to parlay better contracts for your own team when your contract comes up. And by the way, you also use that to parlay better deals for your assistants. Thank you very much. It's not just greed from the head coach.
Nice.
Look at Les Miles of LSU. The Arkansas job came open. Now, Brett Bielema from Wisconsin ultimately took it a couple of years ago. But LSU in the same division as Arkansas, Les Miles, their head coach, his agent used the Arkansas job to get a better deal renegotiated out of LSU.
Yeah.
That's absurd. But it's the way the game is played. And frankly, this is the one place where I don't mind coaches standing in front of the media and lying through their teeth. If the coach thinks that answering a question, did you interview for a job, is going to hurt recruiting at the moment or hurt the bowl game at the moment, then for the coach to stand up there and say, nope, I think it's perfectly legitimate. Disinformation has its place in football. Just like when you talk about whether or not your quarterback's going to be healthy for this game or if his nagging injury is to that's all fine. So now, the thing about Bronco is that I don't think the word disinformation is anywhere in his in vocabulary, so he'll tell you the truth no matter what. But even if he didn't, I wouldn't mind, if he played that one close to the vest. Even so, Bronco Mendenhall is one of the most respected coaches nationally, not just among programs that might want to hire him, but among his peers. When you talk about Bronco to other coaches, they gush over how much they respect him as a coach and as a man, and that is what you want at BYU.
Absolutely. Trevor Matich is on BYU Sports Nation. Let's finish with this. Semifinal games coming up, Oregon, Florida State, Alabama versus Ohio State. How do you see the semifinal shaking out, Trevor?
Well, we start out in the Rose Bowl with Florida State, Oregon, and I think Florida State has had all their miraculous comebacks where they've had a final drive to win the game or a final stop by their defense to preserve a win. But they've always done it against teams with very clear flaws that they could exploit. Oregon's not one of those teams. In order for Florida State to make a play on either side of the ball, they will have to defeat a duck who's standing in the right spot doing the right thing. They can't count on a glaring weakness that they can exploit. I think Oregon beats Florida State in a shootout, and I think it'll be a good game. But I think it's finally time for Florida State for the luck to run out, and not just luck, by the way. There's after a while, you're not just lucky winning all those games late. You get good at it, and Florida State's good at it. But I like Oregon in that game. For Alabama and Ohio State, the big key is the quarterback for Ohio State, Cardale Jones. Now he entered the last 2 weeks of training camp in the summer as the third-string quarterback. Braxton Miller got hurt. Number 2, J.T. Barrett popped up and became a Heisman candidate himself. Then J.T. Barrett got hurt in the last game of the regular season, and Cardale Jones engineered a blowout of Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game in his first start. And what he's got to realize is that he's not as good as other people probably think he is on social media. Everything he touched in that game turned to gold. And he needs to understand it. It's not that way. I mean, Brian, you know this. I mean, it's just not that way. It's a fight most of the time.
Yep.
Well, what Alabama will do is stack the line to stop the run. And they will keep Cardale Jones in the pocket, which won't be that hard to do. He's 6'5", 240 pounds, and force him to beat them down the field with his arm. Now, he did Wisconsin. He threw up a lot of balls that came down, 50-50 balls that could have gone either way, and his guy got it every time. But against Alabama, it's going to be a different story. And the big question is, what can he do with his arm from the pocket? Because that's where he'll have to play it. And I think Alabama will ultimately win this game.
And who wins the national title?
Alabama.
Alabama. You heard it from Trevor.
Alabama, yeah, because it's still a line of scrimmage game. And the strongest team at the line of scrimmage has been winning national championships for the last decade. And Alabama, I think, is stronger than either Florida State or Oregon. And as far as Ohio State goes, they're a good match at the line of scrimmage, but the quarterback situation is too iffy for Ohio State for me to pick them.
Should be fun. 1 week from today, BYU in the Miami Beach Bowl. Semifinals coming up on New Year's Day. Should be great. Trevor, we appreciate the time.
Always enjoy it, guys.